And what they discover next changes the entire course of the investigation.
Angelo Shin, he was the nephew of the victim.
Blood is thicker than water. It's an old saying that's meaning is simple. Family sticks together. They support and protect one another, which is a lesson 58-year-old Robert Che tried to instill in his children. So when the Che's nephew, Angelo Shin, needed a place to stay while his parents were in Korea, the family welcomed him with open arms.
Angelo stayed with us when he was in high school, and Angelo was like a brother to me ever since then.
And he was like a second son to both Robert and Janice Che. During the year and a half Angelo lived in the Gwenmont home.
My father and my mother were acting as a parent to him because his parents weren't in the U.S. at the time.
Investigators believe this seemingly noble gesture by the Che family may have been their undoing.
One of the considerations was this was an inside job. And when the detective figured out that that phone had called the nephew of the victim, we knew that that was an important link. This was the phone that linked up to calls that were being made during the time of the home invasion.
It can't be a coincidence.
Angelo Shin had intimate knowledge of everything that the Che's did.
Knowledge that the Che family had a safe full of money, and what time his aunt and uncle left for work every morning.
This was the ultimate act of betrayal that one could have for a family.
And a bad situation is about to get worse. When investigators learn the surviving Che family members have taken refuge with the Shin family for the last several weeks.
After what happened, Angelo invited our family into his home. He kept saying, just come over to our house and stay at our house. They opened their door to us.
Perhaps there's an ulterior motive behind this invitation.
Angelo and his family accepted his aunt and cousins into the home. And it's our belief that part of that reason was to draw attention away from him as a participant in the crime.
One of the people that was responsible for Robert Che's death was now watching the other three victims.
The Che's could be in grave danger. Police will have to get the surviving family members out of the house without setting off any suspicion.
I made a telephone call to Richard and Mina Che and asked if they knew where Angelo was. And they told me that they happened to be with him.
Santorelli calmly asks Richard and Mina to bring their cousin to the station for some routine questioning.
We went to the police department and he said, what are we doing here? And we told him, well, the police detective wants to ask us for questioning.
When they arrived at the police station, we took Angelo to one room and we put Mina and Richard in separate rooms.
Not knowing why their cousin is being questioned, police have to break the news gently to both Richard and Mina Che.
One of the detectives came in and said that, I don't know how you feel about this, but we believe that Angelo Shin, he was part of your father's murder.
This bombshell revelation is hard for Richard Che to process.
It's like I got hit with the bat twice. I didn't know what to say. I still don't know what to say. Why would he do this to us? Why would he even take us in? And then I was doubting maybe they got the wrong person.
But police are pretty sure they've got the right guy. Even when at first, Angelo plays the role of a concerned relative.
The initial statement that Angelo gave to detectives, he told us that he would help us in any way that he could.
Help them until the questions shift to some of Angelo's recent phone conversations.
He had indicated that he had not had contact with anyone involved in this crime, and we could disprove that through the phone records.
Clearly, Angelo is not being honest with police. It's not enough to charge him with a murder, but they're not about to let him walk either.
So we had to make a determination at that point on whether we had enough to arrest him for giving false information to the police.
Investigators roll the dice and arrest Angelo Shin for false statements. The gamble works. After 24 hours in the slammer, the victim's nephew says he's ready to talk.
Angelo Shin had gone from trying to cover up a crime to knowing the jig was up.
And once Shin starts talking, he doesn't stop.
He had indicated that he had been bragging to an individual he identified as Tree Man about how much money his uncle had in his house.
Tree Man is a 23-year-old Philadelphia native whose real name is Joseph Page. The two men immediately strike up a friendship that's about to turn deadly.
Tree Man told Angelo Shin that one of his specialties were home invasion robberies.
It doesn't take long before an idea is hatched.
After those initial discussions, a plan was formulated to rob Robert Che in his home.
Joseph Page recruits two other men, Amitati Latham and Kyrie Pitts, to execute the robbery itself, and three more people, Robert Eatman, Julius Wise, and Sybil White, to act as getaway drivers and the planning crew. The group of would-be burglars meet before the crime to go over the plan.
Angelo supplied information about the routine of his aunt and uncle and where in the home the money was stored.
Angelo also saw a number of things at those meetings, such as the materials that they were getting together to go and commit the crime.
These materials include duct tape, guns, and knives.
Angelo Shin indicated that no one was supposed to be harmed. However, when people show up with guns and restraints and duct tape, it's clear that they're going for a violent purpose.
Angelo left the meeting, knowing the wheels were in motion.
He knew the dangerousness of this situation, and he did nothing to stop it.
Angelo learns of his uncle's fate shortly after the crime, when Joseph Page calls him, angry there wasn't more cash in the family's safe.
Angelo said, "Why did you do what you did? Why did you kill him?" And Joseph Page said, "I had to do what I had to do."
In the end, the money taken from the Che's home is divided up between the 7 people involved.
$2,000 was Angelo Shin's cut of the proceeds. To realize that Angelo Shin became a traitor to his family for $2,000 is unimaginable.
Investigators now have what they need.
Angelo Shin was arrested following his confession. We had warrants issued for the remaining participants.
In the investigation at that point, it was similar to dominoes beginning to fall.
And those dominoes include DNA tests that match 2 of the 7 arrested.
The DNA profile that was supplied by Joseph Page matched the DNA profile that was found on the inside of the glove. And the DNA profile of Amitati Latham matched the profile of the duct tape.
Police now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Joseph Page and Amitati Latham are responsible for the murder of Robert Che. In September of 2009, Angelo Shin pleads guilty to third-degree murder for his role in planning the crime. He is sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison. For Richard Che, his cousin's involvement is still hard to come to terms with.
He was at my father's funeral, you know, and I don't know anybody that could actually think of something like that. It's just heinous. I don't know, I can't put it in words. It chokes me sometimes.
Joseph Page and Amitati Latham, whose DNA was found at the scene, take their chances in court and are found guilty of second-degree murder. Julius Wise, Robert Eatman, and Sybil White plead guilty to third-degree murder for their involvement in the crime. Kyrie Pitts, the alleged third man in the house, goes to trial in January of 2010. But without DNA evidence or a solid ID from the family members, he's found not guilty.
One individual was acquitted for his involvement. But in the end, we're very confident that we got to the two individuals that were responsible for the killing.
Angelo Shin still hasn't really said why he did what he did. But Richard Che believes his cousin just got involved with a bad crowd.
He was just playing around with the wrong people. A bad influence can change a person, drastically. What kind of friends you commingle with and what kind of people you hang out with can, change your future of where you're headed.
For Mayor Doug Ross and the residents of North Wales, well, they can finally let out a sigh of relief. But they're still holding their breath a little more these days.
I think there is a lasting effect in the community that, we aren't in some isolated haven where crime doesn't happen. It can happen. I think it makes everybody take a pause and take stock of who you're saying what to and who's coming into your neighborhood.